Hey guys, welcome to Tori Bash Takeover. This is Dr. Hacks, and today I'm going to provide a unique perspective by opening up a whole new series. I know I open a lot of series, but the channel is still relatively new. I think it's only about 10 months or so, so I like to come up with different ideas to keep it fresh and interesting. So this is Tori Bash, Tori Rant. The premise behind Tori Rant is pretty simple. This is all improvised. This is the type of improvisation that gets you into clans like Relax All, man. No script, no organization. What this is just plain out me, top of my head, talking about Tori Bash, answering questions, um, providing unique insight onto the Tory Badge scene, how to become a better player, how to digest information. I mean, you name it. Staff and how to consider staff and anything you can possibly imagine revolving around either Tory Bash the game or Tory Bash the forum or even the politics of Tory Bash. I'll more than likely end up covering in a rant forum where you're going to get like a video audio of me and let's get started. So the first things first, I wanted to give off a piece of information, and it's a little controversial. However, I got the okay by guys like Ishii, said this would be something that newer players really need to hear. So I'm gonna just dive right into it. Um, Winning, playing people, and commanding the victory. When you were probably a lower belt, you were in a public room at one time or another, and you watched a brown belt, let's say, beat a master belt. And it blew your mind, and you went insane. You were like, oh my god, I cannot believe it. And you were capsing, and you were like high fiving. And if that was you, you were elated. And the rest of the room was silent. And the rest of the room didn't care. And the rest of the room was unmoved. And you were confused. Why were they unmoved? And the answer is simple because it happens all the time. It wasn't a rare situation, scenario, you name it. Low belt, bad players beat great players at their best mod every day, all of the time. Um, and that might not have registered at the beginning, but let it register and sit in your head now. Anyone can beat anyone in any mod on any given day. Let that really sink in. I don't care if you are Begotten Snudge, Arcary, Duetaria, Powers, myself, um, Odd Love, Ti Cux, or Psycho, um, Winver, Stabbers, Pain, 0815 Rocker, Kamiko, Killer 3366, I'm a Pirate, Holotor, the list goes on and on. I don't care if you're any of those guys. If Loves to Spooge 12650 enters public wushu and he's played 3 games of wushu in his life, he could beat any of the people I just listed twice in a row at wushu. If you enter a room right now and you want to play Gray Keto against Gray Hat, Numbers, Nut Hug, King Bosch, um, Ishii is not as good as everyone loves to think, but he would say that. I'm not just trying to tease him. Siku, uh, almost everyone you can think of from Clan Rar, who's notorious for being unbelievable Aikido players, Team Sambo, iRookie, um, Schmevin, etc. Anyone could beat them in Aikido. If you think of guys like Nurs, Rutzer, 0815 Rocker, excuse me, Earn, if I hadn't said it already, Earth, Imskew, and you play them in TK, anyone could have beat them in TK. And everyone did beat them in TK. Um, now I'm saying that to say this. There is no definitive best player in anything. I mean, there's not even definitive top 5 or 10 in anything. You can get extraordinarily good in this game, but it all comes down to rock, paper, scissors. Tory Bash, however, is a little unique because it's kind of a weighted rock, paper, scissors. Um, where you can throw a harder rock, you can throw a more encompassing paper, and you can throw sharper scissors. However, um, if you throw a rock and they throw a paper, they'll probably win. Unless it's a very small piece of paper and a massive rock, you'll probably win. And what I mean by that is this. Because Tori Bash, unlike a real-time strategy game like StarCraft or Warcraft, and unlike multiplayer online battle arenas like League of Legends, Heroes of New Earth, Defense of the Ancients 2, um, the game isn't real time. And because it's turn-based, you're left with plenty of options. Especially higher turn frame mods, you're left with an enormous amount of options. And so what goes to so is in that is you could do one move where you win by 10,000 points. You could do another move where you get countered and lose by 10,000 points, or you could stalemate and do a move that is neither countering nor being countered, and whoever's going to win, it's going to become down close to the wire within the 2,000, 5,000 point range. Um, those decisions, those branches open up all of the time, and there's only a couple pivotal frames where that gets decided upon. And what I mean to say is you can try to predict what the opponent does, and you'll get it right and you'll counter, but you have no control over what the opponent does. And why I say that is because, like I said, you could fall into the trap where you think he's going to throw rock and you throw paper, but he really threw scissors. Um, it in a similar aspect, if you like raised your shoulders because you thought he was going to extend his pack and instead he contracted his packs and did something a little wonky, it, you might have lost, but you were preparing for what you thought to be the correct situation. uh, you were preparing for what you thought the better player would do, and because he did something that the worst player would probably do, he ends up winning. um, why am I saying that? Because a lot of people get real caught up in losses and getting better and thinking that, oh, I lost five in a row to who's it call it, so he's way better than me, and I tried to apply to Team Wushu and they want to make me tier 6 and I think I'm tier 4 and this, that, and the other thing, and you just need to settle down and relax for a second. You can get obscenely good at this game. Like I said, you can continue to throw heavier rocks and sharper scissors and all that because you can understand the intricacies of the Tori physics, the Tori anatomy. Rather than being an Aikido player or a Tekion player, you can just be a great player by understanding the ragdoll physics engine and using it to your advantage. Understanding just that from one mod to another is small discrepancies, like whether or not you can manipulate the opponent with a grab. What gravity are you in? How much turn frames do you have? Um, is there a dojo? How relaxed does my body need to be when it takes a strike before it gets dismembered or fractured? These are all things that I would like to say are all very closely related to one another, and you can universally apply what you learn from one mod to another. So don't get too caught up in losing or winning. This game has a gigantic element of luck, and there's a top 30 or even 50 interchangeably amazing players in any mod, where it's just who brought it at that time wins the game. Remember how I said just earlier that there's only a couple pivotal moments in a game? Well, there is. There's only a couple times where the decision you make either makes you win the game, or get a great advantage, or makes you lose the game, or get a terrible advantage. There's only a couple times in the game where it happens, and you can try to set up towards it, but there's only a couple times where you're actually in that frame. And what you need to remember is reaction time is typically 20 seconds. Sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's 10. So just because you have an unbelievable player with a lot of experience, um, doesn't mean you shouldn't consider the fact that they only got 20 seconds to think of something. So maybe they had an idea and they tried to flesh it out for 12 seconds and it didn't work, and they just had to fall back on a safety idea with 8 seconds left. it's very reasonable to assume that they did not perform as well as they could have if there was a larger reaction time. Which is why there's an interesting case for whether or not we should be playing with a lot longer reaction time. It would be a different skill, but it would be a more complicated calculation if you had the time to actually switch over the panel view, use the arrow key, and look through the opponent's eyes and figure out what you think he's going to do. Take some time out to do that, and then go back to your guy and come out with the best, most global solution. Especially with striking mods, which you have in striking mods, really all you can hope for is put yourself in a generic enough position where you can inflict damage more than he can inflict damage. That's what you can really push for. And if you're wondering why listen to Dr. Hacks about anything in game, because some people might be wondering that, like why Dr. Hacks? Why should I care? Um, Belts don't matter is the old mantra, right? Because 10th dans can lose to second dans all the time. But the one things where belts do matter a little bit, anyways, is experience. Okay, I want you to consider this: if you've played about 1,000 games of Tori Bash. That has probably taken you quite a while. For some people, it probably took a month. For some people, it might have taken a lot longer than a month. Um, but 1,000 games is a lot of repetitions, right? 1,000 games, you can see a lot of the same things twice with 1,000 games. If you're a black belt, you've played 1,000 games, and you're considered to be average at that point. I have played 38,000 games of Tori Bash. Now, whether or not you think I'm a great player or a terrible player, that's your speculation, your opinion, you keep it to yourself. However, one thing you cannot deny is that I'm an experienced player. Having played 38,000 games, I could make almost 4 10th degree black belts. There was a quote in someone's signature at one point. I think it was fear not the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks one time, but the man who's practiced one kick 1,000 times. Well, I've practiced the same kick 38,000 times. You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't mean I'm a great player, but it means I've watched metagames develop, come and go. I've watched trends come and go. I've watched players reach high points and low points. I've seen the evolution of mods from where we go from Wushu to Wushu Fixed to Wushu 3 to Brushu, and now it looks like people are gravitating towards box shoe now because they like the idea of no running, and there's an interesting dynamic of pushing off the walls, which is relatively interesting and neat. I've watched the development of Techion and where it's come from and where it's gone, Judo Frac, where it's come from and where it's gone. And what I can tell you is you can observe trends and you can observe and see what works and what doesn't work. So if you want to listen to me, here's why you should listen. If you don't know why you want to listen to me yet, here's why. It's because I've played more games than almost anyone in the world. I would say there's probably 15 people, maybe, who have played more games than me. Out of hundreds and thousands, and if not millions of accounts created, uh, about maybe like 15 people have played more games than me. Of those 15 people, maybe 7 of those people are still playing Tory Bash. Of those 7 people, 0 of those people are teaching you. 0 of those people are on YouTube right now or on Skype and lending their opinion and their expertise to teach you. 0 of those people are hosting events where they can do giveaways and tutorials and walk you through the steps of being a better player. 0 of those people offer esport coaching where you can send me a private message and we can figure out a way where I can coach you to become a better player. I'm as experienced as you get that's taking the time to teach. Is that teaching experience valuable? You decide. But I would say that my voice should be heard if you're interested in getting better because a voice like this hasn't existed in the history of Tory Bash where people could go and truly learn from someone who's been there, done that. Just, been there, done that since 2008. It's 2014 now. It's a hell of a lot of years to be playing one game and keeping up with it and being a game master, being a market squad member, being what I am now, content creating, being a wushu player, going through different clans, leading clans, marketing, anything you can possibly imagine in Tori Bash, been there, done that. I mean, outside of doing really well in single player or making art, I've been there and I've done that. It doesn't mean I'm the best player. Like I said before, how would you even prove it? But what it does mean is I'm one of the most experienced members with experienced voices, and one of the only voices out there where a young player who's new to the game, inexperienced to the game, or an old player who's just looking for a new bag of tricks can go in and hear some perspective from someone who's been doing it since before he could drive. You know what I mean? I'm 21 years old now. When I started Tory Bash, I think I was like a sophomore in high school. There's a huge evolution of who I am as a person from start to finish, and there's a huge evolution in how the game looked from start to finish. If you're wondering why there were idols back then and there really aren't many idols now, the Legends program is saturated with old players. I'll tell you why. I'll fill you in a little secret. Players weren't as good back then as they are today. And second, lots less players were playing back then. Now, Nuthug admitted in an interview uh, that we did on Tory Bash Takeover. If you want, you can scroll over and check that interview out. That the reason why he feels he was able to be so talented is because he was able to experiment in games. Just he had unheard of streaks. I think I heard Siku say that he's had like a 97 Aikido streak before against other players, which is unbelievable. But his point was that he could do what he want and play incredibly creatively in Aikido and in other mods because players were bad enough that he could get away with experimentation and growth. The best way you can grow is to push yourself to the edge and to the limit and do what you think you're probably going to get punished for until you can find out just how liberal you can get with your body without losing. And he did that, and that's why I mean, that combined with the fact that everyone else wasn't very good is the reason why guys like Oddlove had 30 streaks in Wushu. It's the reason why guys like Nuthug had crazy streaks in Aikido. It's the reason why Rutzer and Imskew and 0815 Rocker, God, I keep doing that, had amazing streaks in Techion. That's not to take it away from them, but if you played them now, would they be better than you? Maybe. They'd be rusty, but I'm saying once they got the rust off, would they be better than the current players are today? Maybe, but would they dominate the room? Absolutely not. Would they get a 10 streak or a 20 streak on other very high level players? Absolutely not. So that's why there's legends from the past and not too many sprouting up from the present. It's because this sort of material didn't exist back then. And now there's so many opportunities to learn. If you're an absolutely raw beginner, there's people like ConCon doing move tutorials. If you want to get involved with betting and dueling and stuff like that, there's people like Les Duncan who are highlighting duels and bet rooms and creating mods to compete in and doing events and giveaway or they're doing events and challenges. And if you're a new player or you're a seasoned veteran, there's just me out here right now currently giving it to you straight like I am right now, like I am today. So I highly recommend if you just want to get better at the game, then do it because you're having a good time playing the game. Don't put the streaks first. Don't get too caught up in wins and losses. Don't get too caught up in the politics. Tory Bash, because it's so subjective, it becomes a political game in a lot of ways. Like, who's the best player also becomes a lot like who's the most liked player, you know? Uh, because a lot of times, because a player is winning in a certain way, people don't like them. So, despite them finding effective ways to win, they're not considered good players. Sometimes a guy is a great player, but he's also a really funny person and a really nice guy, a really nice pleasure to hang around. And because of that, he'll get the extra credit to be called like the best player. Sometimes there'll be a lot of mystery to a person, and because there's a lot of mystery and they're all trying to figure out, uh, someone could regard them as the best player because they don't talk a lot and they just win a lot, and there's a lot of mystery, there's not a lot of answers being solved. They'll be considered the best player. So don't concern yourself with all of that. Surround yourself with great players. Push yourself to improve, and don't worry too much about the wins and losses. All right. On the last, well, but before, let me correct that. Worry about the wins and losses, but take away from it only constructive things, and make sure you realize, would you do what you did again, knowing what you know? If the answer is no, or no, knowing what you knew, excuse me. If the answer is no, go back and figure out why your thought process was wrong. But if the answer was yes, then live with it. Sometimes you just get outplayed. It happens. I want to leave Tory Bash Takeover rant number one closing with a little talk about YouTube and the symbiotic relationship between me making videos and you guys watching videos and how it all works out. When I make a video, you can hit the like button. You can subscribe to my channel. You can favorite a video. You can share a video. There's a lot of things you can do to boost up the channel. Oh, and also you can view the videos. But these are all things you can do to boost the channel up. Now, what does that do for me? It increases my income, which is almost nothing. It's like a cent or two every month. I mean, it's not a dollar. It's not a quarter. Um, Furthermore, it makes my channel more popular, not just within the Tory Bash community, but when people are searching for Tory Bash or indie game or game general, my channel gets boosted higher and higher the more relevant it is to people. And it's considered relevant if lots of people are liking the videos, watching the videos, subscribing to my channel, sharing the videos with their friends, getting their friends to subscribe and like and view the videos, favoriting their videos, etc. Because then YouTube says this is a good channel, we want to promote it. Because if we promote it, we get more ad revenue off the people watching the video. So that's all the good things that come from me. You're probably wondering yourself, yeah, but why do I care about what's good for Dr. Hacks? And the answer is pretty simple because what's good for me is good for you. What's good for me also grows Tory Bash as a game. But more importantly, what's good for me, well, more relevantly, I should say, what's good for me means better rewards for you. I mean, I don't have 1,000 subscribers quite yet. I'm almost there. I'm like at 980, close to it, and I've already given away Demon and Void. I've given away no QI stuff. I'm giving away currently one of the highest level mouse pads you can find in the esport industry that professional gamers use all the time, and I'll sign it too. And that's at 1,000 views. I mean, there's no reason why if my channel grows, I can't give better stuff to you guys and give stuff more frequently to you guys. There's no reason why I can't do better giveaways with higher cash, with higher prizes, and more knockout tournaments and events with really nice prizes as well. But in order to do that, I need the popularity, productivity, and success to reciprocate. So if you want to help me out, which will in turn help yourself out, please like the video. Please favorite the video. Please share the video with your friends. Please, when you're in a Tory Bash room, tell people about Tory Bash Takeover. Spread the word. Go to other gaming forums if you want and talk about Tory Bash and talk about this channel. You yourself should be watching these videos. Get people to subscribe, and that way we can truly make Tory Bash take over. Thanks a lot for watching, you guys. Are all awesome. You know what to do because I just spent a couple minutes describing it. Have a good one.